Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Again, everything that the Chinese government has said has been a lie.
Yeah.
They said with their agreement with Hong Kong that they would leave it alone for 50 years and it would be a one country, two systems. No, they didn't leave it alone.
Look
at what happened to it now. It is now just part of China. They've
Yes.
messed with the government. They've put in these national security laws so people can't talk, have freedom of speech anymore. They messed with that. So they broke that. They broke that promise. They again said they weren't going to militarize the South China Sea. What did they do? Militarize the South China Sea. What did they say? They said that they would reduce pollution and whatnot. Nope, they didn't do that at all. They said they would crack down on illegal counterfeiting and things like that. There's not one thing that China has actually said, the government, that they've actually, to the international community, that they've stuck to. No.
See how this gets very scary? If you show disaffection, which definition is a state of feeling of being dissatisfied with people in authority and no longer willing to support them, you can go to jail. And remember, these punishments range from 7 years all the way to life in prison. They want to sow chaos, division, and warfare in the USA, and they've been doing so through multi-billion-dollar propaganda campaigns, TikTok, co-opting influencers and politicians to what I call now the America Bad Party, which is, when people would rather promote authoritarian governments abroad over their own government and claim that America is the worst country in the world for a variety of reasons. It's become quite fashionable these days. An act of espionage under the new laws could include the passing of information or document that is considered useful to an external force. Just like we saw with the Chinese government's paper on ethnically targeted bioweapons. Of sedition, which includes an intent to bring disaffection against the state or its institutions. And someone who shares this information that appears to be confidential in matter, even if it's not classified as a state secret, could be punished if that person intended to endanger national security. In the eyes of the authorities, it's up to them. If you post something online for the world to see that the authorities consider to be a confidential matter, maybe a protest, maybe a tweet, maybe a natural disaster that the government doesn't want people to know about, anything that the government doesn't want people to see, this is now up to authorities to decide if it's a confidential matter or not. Certainly, these laws only affect the people in Hong Kong and mainland China, right? Now, even possessing a book critical of the Chinese government can violate national security and mean years in prison. Government advisors said that priests who heard confessions about national security offenses like treason could they themselves be charged under the new laws if they don't report on what they heard. But this applies to anyone who ends up in the territory. And yes, I'm talking about connecting flights. It's less of whether they will go after every single person who's ever posted anything negative about the Chinese government, because that would just be impossible, but it's more about the fact that they can go after anyone that has said anything negative about the Chinese government. It's one thing to beef up your military and do military parades and show off your new military.
Look, they're waving
Absurd.
the white flag.
Yeah, they're like, can we give up?
Yeah.
This is absurd. Like, look at China's up here, all the way at the top, right?
Yes.
See that line, that 9-dash line?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they claim. That's around all of Vietnam, up to their coast,
Mm-hmm.
Malaysia, Philippines, encircling Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of those red triangles are already military bases and artificial islands used for
Yeah.
military purposes after they said they wouldn't do
Yeah,
that.
remember they said we won't militarize the South China Sea. What did they do?
Look
they
at
built the
this.
artificial islands and they militarized them straight away.
Look at this. And the yellow is international waters, which
That's-
they claim.
Yes.
But to attempt a major hack of American infrastructure, they target civilians, not just in their own country with political control and censorship, but in the US and other countries as well. They're targeting the livelihood, health, and safety of American citizens. So when American intelligence actually figured out what this malware was and where it was in the electrical grid and stuff, do you know what they found? It appeared to be intended to use if the United States were to come to the aid of Taiwan. The theory is that Americans would be too tied up worrying about their own supplies of electricity, food, and water to help a distant island that Beijing claims as its own.